So I started my zero waste lifestyle 8 years ago, where I carried a trash jar around and I did my utmost best to avoid as much trash, all trash, that I could. It wouldn't be unfair to say that I've started slacking lately, but even though I'm not as strict with my zero waste lifestyle as I once was, I've learned some really valuable lessons from this movement. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I recently realized something, and it's the fact that I have talked about zero waste and the development of zero waste and my role within the movement and how I feel about the movement a lot lately. I have done a lot of zero waste problematic behavior, zero waste fails, and generally speaking, just a lot of negatively charged content related to zero waste, which I think is absolutely necessary to deconstruct where this lifestyle fails you or becomes difficult or hard or even detrimental to your mental health. However, I think it's important to have the nuance and the balance present, because even though there are many criticisms that you could make related to zero waste, that I am making as well, and that I think are important in order to find a healthy and sustainable way of living within this lifestyle, I think it's important to criticize the movement overall. And I think it's also important to praise the fact that it's come a long way since 2012 with the very problematic and often just straight up bullshit zero waste trash jar, all the kind of stuff. I want to take a moment to talk about some of the lessons that this movement has taught me that has been so valuable, that I use every day, and that will probably benefit me for the rest of my life. So in order to have the nuance, here are 5 things that the zero waste movement has taught me that has changed my life. Zero waste taught me how to think about my impact, which was not something I had previously done before. I had never really thought about the long-term consequences of what can only be described as, at best, neutral actions in your everyday life. Using plastic bags and plastic disposables and generally how you act as a consumer in society was not something I thought about beyond the scope of putting trash into the bin because that's where it belongs. And then I never thought about what happens to the trash beyond the bin. I haven't had an upbringing that has been more sustainable or more focused on sustainability than average, I think. I was taught to, turn off the lights when you leave a room. I was taught to save water and save electricity. I was taught to not litter in nature. But that's also where my upbringing related to eco-friendliness sort of ends. So a very basic understanding of the planet and how to take care of the planet, basically. Now, obviously, it doesn't go without saying that zero waste is not everything that sustainability is. Sustainability is so much more than zero waste. But to me, personally, zero waste was a stepping stone to me learning how to think about my impact and how my actions matter. And these thought patterns are not only incredibly useful in sustainability, they are incredibly useful everywhere. Your impact is related to all kinds of resource use. And that's something that zero waste taught me to think about, that things that you use, even if they are handed to you for free, have an impact. I cannot explain to you the amount of times where I have been offered, plastic bags, straws, freebies, all kinds of, neutral things that are not important to you and your quality of life. Some people with disabilities obviously have increased quality of life from using straws, but that's not true in my case. I have been asked a million times if I wanted these things and I've said no, to which the person offering has replied, oh, don't worry about it, it's free. Or don't worry about it, like you don't have to pay for anything. And this is something that I think was instilled in me from childhood, is that if it's free, you take it. You always take it. And I think that's something that comes from growing up with not a lot of stuff and not a lot of resources and not a lot of room to do things. So whenever you get something, you have the opportunity to experience something or get something for free, you take that. We reach for things that are free just because they're free. However, in zero waste, something that I have learned over the years and something that has been sort of instilled in me by myself and by this lifestyle is that things represent not only cost and worth, but also resources. So instead of only thinking in what the actual price is of something, thinking about what resources went into making it and determining the value of these things based on the resources and not only on the cost. Anyway, that's something that I think about all the time, and it's something that I've found really useful. The zero waste lifestyle also taught me how to think about things beyond its intended purpose. So basically, zero waste taught me how to upcycle, how to think about things with many different purposes beyond what it was simply designed for. I think I've said this a million times on this channel, but having one product that can do 10 things is a lot more sustainable than having 10 things with each their individual unique function. And that's something that zero waste has taught me, that I constantly think about how to reuse things that I accumulate or that break or that I need to repair, and how to fix things and use things in ways so I avoid buying things for that specific purpose. And that's everything in my everyday life, low-key. It's everything from using food containers for future storage options. It's using old rags and discarded clothing in pillowcases. It's everything. Low-key, it's using my excess shower water to flush my toilet. She is an incredibly frugal girl. Having things break or being in need of repair also teaches us how to think creatively about the materials that we are handed, and not only seeing a final product and the design and the intention for that product, but seeing the materials and the opportunities in this product is something that is incredibly useful in a lot of ways during my everyday life. The zero waste movement also taught me how to stand out and feel okay about it. Now, I would like to say that I don't think it's fair to give all the credit to zero waste, because I've always been a person that kind of stood out. First I was an emo kid, then I was a J fashion decora kid, and then I wore stilettos to high school every single day as a fashion girl, fashion week girly. So I've always stood out, I've always been okay with it, but you stand out in a different way with zero waste, because it's a very visible, not only style and aesthetic thing, but it's a very lifestyle thing. So you're there with a little glass jar when everyone else are using paper cups. And I started doing all of these things where bringing a tote bag, bringing smaller tote bags for bulk shopping, having your own containers with you, using reusables, all this kind of stuff. It wasn't really normalized. At least it wasn't normalized where I lived in Denmark at this point. So everyone commented on these things all the time. I remember being on a picnic where I had my own set of cutlery with me and everyone else was using disposables. And I've never been a person to tell other people what to do. I would just like to do my own thing. And some people were inspired by it and started bringing their own cutlery as well, because hey, then you don't have to buy or use something you throw away, but you can simply bring your own things from home. I've also learned how to talk to people in the service industry in a different way. Now, I'm a Dane, and Danish people, if we can avoid it, life or death, we don't like to talk to strangers. It's not something that I feel super comfortable about, or at least it wasn't, but the amount of times I have had to ask people in the service industry if I can use my own container, everywhere from in supermarkets to cinemas to restaurants, everywhere. And today I have a very relaxed relationship with going up and talking to people and asking people questions if I have any questions. And sometimes when I'm with a bigger group of friends, I am always the one to just say, shouldn't I just go ask? I'm just gonna go ask. I don't mind anymore. And I think one of the reasons why that is because I've been in so many situations where I've had to explain in detail why I'm using my reusable water bottle to get my little soda in for the cinema, etc. And I'm grateful that this is not a barrier that I have in the same way anymore. I have no shame. It's gone. Zero waste also taught me how to plan and think ahead. So when you live a lifestyle that revolves around reducing your trash as much as possible, you pretty quickly learn how to predict what scenarios you're going to be in that day and how to prevent waste from accumulating. And it's everything from learning exactly when to say no straw, no receipt, no plastic bag before you're handed it in a grocery store, at a restaurant, etc. Or it's planning what type of reusables you are going to be using that day, because there's no need to bring a reusable cup and cutlery and your lunchbox and your totes if you're not going to use them that day. So you pretty quickly learn how to think about, oh, what type of reusables will I be using today? What do I have to bring? You can also overthink this 100%. You can, the nuance is important, because I'm really appreciative of the abilities that zero waste has given me, but I also know that you can definitely overdo this, overthink it, or care too much about very small things. Tiny things. But I'm very grateful for the enhanced ability to predict the needs of myself as well as the needs of people around me. Zero waste also taught me how to seek out information and think about the bigger picture. Now, again, I don't think it's fair to credit zero waste with my ability to research, because I think my 5 years at uni and my master's degree probably did some of that as well. However, seeking out information about things that I surround myself with in my everyday life is definitely something zero waste has normalized for me. Seeking out information about products that I use or materials that I use is something that zero waste has taught me to care about and seek out. Zero waste is the reason why I'm curious about the world around me and the impact of the things that I use. And it's the reason why I care. It's not the reason why I care about everything, but specifically related to the products that I use, the food that I buy, that kind of stuff. When we're looking at the bigger picture and looking at how we seek out information, I think one of the things that zero waste, at least in my case, has also definitely helped out with is the ability to adjust your action based on the information that you have. And there was a lot of things that I was in doubt about all the time, and I didn't feel like I knew enough to make even small decisions about what products to buy or what companies to support. But one of the things that I've come to accept is that I don't know everything. I can make decisions based on the knowledge that I have, and then when I ultimately learn new information or something that might contradict the thing that I already thought that I knew, I can readjust my actions and I can readjust my decision making. The ability to not be fully committed to an opinion or a decision, but making it so that you can change your opinion based on the new information that you get. And in environmentalism, that's extremely important, because you always learn new things, because no one knows everything. We can only act according to what we know and to our best ability. We should make decisions based on the knowledge that we have and not be held back by the knowledge that we lack. During my early stages of zero waste, I hyper-focused on the physical trash. So whatever it took, I tried to avoid the physical packaging on products. Then later, I learned that on average, it's actually only 12% of the overall impact that comes from packaging, and the rest is related to transportation emissions, some of it production emissions, and what the product you're buying actually is so much more impactful than how it's packaged. In the beginning, I also thought that it would be better to only buy things grown in Denmark, even if it was grown in greenhouses. That wasn't actually something that I thought a whole lot about. Then I learned later that buying imported produce that's been grown where it's in season and in no need for greenhouses is actually less impactful, even when you account transportation emissions as well. In the beginning, I also used glass whenever I could instead of plastic. But then I learned later that glass is only sustainable if it's reused continuously in a closed loop. Using glass as a single-use disposable actually has a much higher impact than using plastic. And obviously there are many nuances to when something is more sustainable than something else, which is why I created the Impact series in the first place, to find a way to navigate through all these nuances. It's not always as simple as avoiding trash, sustainable. There are more to it, which is also why I started focusing on the bigger picture and what I ate instead of how it was specifically packaged. When I started my zero waste journey, I wasn't vegetarian, I wasn't plant-based, I wasn't anything. So I went to the butcher shop to get meat in a jar. It was later that I learned the impact of animal agriculture is much bigger than plastic straws, which today seems like a very obvious statement. I think it's healthy to not feel a strong commitment to your own opinion, but that you're open to changing your behavior when presented with knowledge. Again, this is not only true for sustainability, but in all aspects of life. And this ability has gotten plenty of exercise for this zero waster. I look back on these 8 years in zero waste and I'm incredibly grateful for the lessons that I've learned and also for the mistakes that I've made. We have this tendency when we look back on our past selves to cringe and feel embarrassed. We want to hide that away. But I think it's important to recognize and be grateful for the whole package, the whole entire spectrum, the journey of it all. And that's why I want to talk about where I came from and what I've learned and what I'm incredibly grateful for. So I hope that this was useful. And if you want to learn about my zero waste regrets and the things that I wish I had known from the beginning, let me know, because then we can make another video kind of like this, but sort of about the things that I wish I had changed sooner, known sooner, readjusted sooner. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you liked it. If you have any lessons that you have learned in your lifestyle, something related to this that you want to share, let me know. I would love to hear you guys out. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day and take really good care of yourselves. Until next time. Bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green zero waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!